All right, folks. October, which is this month, is Heritage Month, and history enthusiast Marcia Thomas is very concerned about the state of Jamaica's historic building structures. So she wrote an article in the Gleaner about it, and now she joins us via Zoom. Good morning, Ms. Thomas. Welcome to Smile Jamaica. How are you?
Good morning.
All is well?
Well as can be.
All right.
As long as we are finished soon.
All right. All right, so historical structures and heritage sites, are those two different things we're talking about here, or no?
No, I think they can be considered the same.
Okay, and your concern is what?
Historical sites are part of our heritage.
Okay, and your concern is what?
My concern is that we are allowing our historical buildings to basically disappear. Because of neglect and a lack of interest, the lack of resources and investment in restoring and maintaining these buildings.
Yeah. Give me a specific one. Give me a specific one that you've seen that you're a little annoyed with because they haven't been looking after it.
Oh my goodness, there are so many. I could look at one very close to Kingston.
Yep.
The train station at Gregory Park. I think that is supposed to be one of the oldest stations in Jamaica. I think it was built in 1845, and it's basically falling apart. The last time I passed, it was almost gone, and I would imagine that maybe it is now completely gone. And there are a lot of examples all over Jamaica.
Yeah. Why do you feel it's important, Marcia? Because people would say, well, let's make way for modern technology and modern development. Why do you think it's important to preserve the structures?
Well, I'll go back to a quote from Marcus Garvey, in which Marcus Garvey said, and it's quoted many times, "A people without a knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots." Your history is actually what it says, as some of our singers have said. It is your story. It is my story. It is your story. It says who we are.
Yeah.
It's what we have evolved from, and it's how we maintain a connection with that past, regardless of how difficult that past has been. And we are not the only country that has had an extraordinarily difficult history.
Yeah, it's one of those debates, because when you talk about resources, I know that there are some structures, because of how old they are, it's not easy to preserve them. It's not easy to repair them. So where do we draw the line between, listen, we don't have the resources, so let's just put something up to honor the space, as opposed to we really have to invest in this space?
Well, we can do both.
Okay.
If you have been to London, you will know about the blue plaques.
Correct.
That they have, which indicate that a very well-known and important person in history has lived in a particular building.
Marcus Garvey has one. Mm-hmm.
Yes, you can do that, because a lot of the buildings were associated with Marcus Garvey have now disappeared. And also the Jamaica National Heritage Trust has designated buildings as historic monuments. So you can begin to invest in these kind of buildings in their restoration. But we have gotten to the point where we have ignored buildings so long that they have become so derelict that it is very difficult to restore them. Let me raise Falmouth as an example. The reason there is a pier at Falmouth was because in 1967, I think the date is 1967, an organization called the Georgian Society of Jamaica was established. And a movie had been made in Falmouth called Papillon. It was one of the few remaining Georgian towns a town with Georgian architecture remaining in this part of the hemisphere. And it was used for that film. The idea was that Falmouth would be restored. It would be something like colonial Williamsburg, if anybody has ever been to colonial Williamsburg in the US. And you would restore the town and make it a living museum. Falmouth has been declared an historic district, but yet persons are allowed to destroy the buildings in Falmouth. And it does appear that the work in Falmouth has stalled. Now we have a cruise ship here, but I noticed, if I may say, on AWE, the television channel, that they have a series called Dream Cruises, and they came to Falmouth. But guess what? They didn't stop in the town of Falmouth. They bypassed the town of Falmouth and went to a tubing thing somewhere out of the town, because the condition of the town is not what it should be or what was intended by the people who invested a lot in trying to restore Falmouth to the Georgian, and maybe some people will be annoyed if I said to its Georgian splendor. But that is something we need to look at. And there are many, many other sites that I could name.
Yeah, Miss Mars. Miss Mars, sorry to jump in. Delia kind of asked the question already, but why do you think we have allowed this? Is that we don't think it's important? Delia kind of mentioned that before. Is it because we don't have no money? Is it because people just can't bother because we have other things doing? Why do you think, because you've made some brilliant points in your article and so far this morning, so why do you think we allow this?
You have raised some of the questions. It's a very complex issue. And one of them is, to an extent, a lack of interest in maintaining them. We could look at Spanish Town. In other countries, more is done with less in terms of a site like Spanish Town. I'm not sure that we actually see the value. And currently, over the last few years, we are living in a very toxic atmosphere where history is concerned, where the general view being conveyed is that it doesn't matter, especially when the history is of the Georgian period, which actually coincided with slavery. And the impression is given that these things are not important. It showed the oppression that happened, but it is important.
Yep.
And it does need the resources. Look at Vale Royal. Vale Royal was built in 1694. And it is a building that should be maintained and should be used. The thing is that you have to use the buildings. If you don't use them, you're going to lose them. So you have to use them for something. Yeah. You know, whether it's an office, museum, a restaurant. People do this in other countries.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And if I may add, that our tourism product, your guest before was speaking on that, we have to have an integrated tourism product. The surveys have shown that most visitors want to see heritage. They want to see historical sites. They want to know the story of the country that they're visiting. And so in Jamaica, we need to integrate the history of Jamaica into the tourism product. And I think we have failed to do that, with the exception of like Rose Hall Great House, which is actually a fable. But it has many visitors who are interested in the story of Rose Hall. Yeah,
for sure. Thank you so much. Very, very well articulated this morning. I actually agree with you totally. And I also agree that maybe they just don't think it's important to really look after these sites. But thank you so much, Ms. Morrison. Have a great day. God bless you and your family.
Thank you. And the same to you.
Thank you very much. History enthusiast, Marcia Thomas.
All right, up next, cybersecurity and strengthening the human firewall.